Words, the power of words when you're going through this gauntlet of change cannot be underestimated. The biggest challenge that I struggled with was that as the kids were imploding because of hormones, I would overreact because I was tired or because I was hungry or because fill in the blank. And it's the last thing that they needed. They did not need to have a verbal sword fight with their mom or their dad just because they don't have the capacity to form their thoughts coherently or explain exactly what's going on. And so I want to talk to you a little bit about the different types of things that you can do and types of things that you can say to your kids, because this is kind of the age and stage that they become. It's not that they're becoming disinterested in you or the family. It's then when they start to seek the things that they're interested in, they lean into friendships, they lean into quirky videos or books that you haven't read before, or watching movies or things that maybe aren't in your wheelhouse. And so they start to become a more clear independent person. Like you may not have seen it happening up till this point, but suddenly they just become who they start to become. They start to spread their wings and they start to test out things. And it can come with this chip on their shoulder or this air of defiance or back talking. And you have to be careful not to be super responsive. You also want to make sure that you do everything possible to give them a little bit of space, but to pull them back in and help them be more engaged. This is a good time for me to put a plug in there that you don't necessarily need to have no screen time. I'm not saying your kids should not have cell phones. I'm not saying that they should not put earbuds in, but I am saying you should take a good look at the what's going on in your home and decide, do I like what's going on? Is this where I want my son, my daughter to end up as an adult? Are they spending enough time face to face with people, actually having conversations, or are they disengaged and staring at a device all day long and you have to like vie for their attention? So make sure that you evaluate screen time. Something that I noticed in my home, and it's the same with me as well, that too much screen time can cause disgruntledness. It can cause brain fog. It can cause this feeling of, how dare you interrupt what it is I'm doing? And so you need to evaluate that and make boundaries in your home that your kids know that, yes, they have freedom to do things like watch a YouTube video or watch a little clip or talk to friends, whatever is in your family culture, but that it's not a free for all. They can't just be on devices 24/7. In our home, we had a very strict screen rule, and still junk and things that the kids should not have stumbled onto was able to bleed into lives. So you want to put up proper boundaries for your kids and then help equip them for the types of things that they might accidentally stumble onto, and make sure that they have a healthy burst of no screen time in combination. So try to find days where you can X out all screens and go for, big explorations together or just chilling, and make sure that you give them time limits within your culture of your family culture that help them just stay healthy mentally. They do not need the flow of information coming at them at the speed that they want to um, ingest it. A magic time for this gauntlet of age 12 is also a challenging time, but especially if you have sons, go on car rides and bring them with you. There's something that happens if you need to have big conversations sitting side by side in the car where you have to drive. Allows them to relax a little bit because they don't feel like they're being interrogated and you're staring in their face looking for, are they failing? Are they not failing? Are they thriving? Are they not thriving? And it helps take the pressure off. So invite them with you when you go on errands or when you have to just get in the car, and have that be in our in my experience, some of the best conversations that I've had with my sons were in the car driving them. And I always talk to them as they get closer to the second gauntlet, which we'll talk about inside Homeschooling Olympians, inside the actual self-paced class. But as you get closer to that other gauntlet, I will continue to volunteer to give them rides until they officially like have their own car and their own ability to get around, because that time side by side is priceless. And it also, there's another time or another place that powerful conversations can happen, and that is long after you want to go to bed. There's something about the dark and it being late at night that unlocks these things inside of your kids' hearts. So if you have a child that loves to talk after 10 o'clock at night, know that that is 100% something that you should lean into at least some of the times. Don't just bark and send them to bed. It could be something about the quiet of the night that has allowed them to feel safe enough to expose things in their heart that they need to talk to you about. So keep that in mind. A magical thing that you can do for some of your kids is to, especially if they're outnumbered by siblings and they're always like, they can't get your attention, you can establish something like tea time or one-on-one time with your kids. Some of our homeschooling moms have done this with their daughters or their sons, where they dedicate 10 or 15 minutes a couple times a week where it's just that one child and just you side by side or across the table enjoying a tasty treat or something special. And it helps unlock their ability to actually talk about things. So consider doing something like that. Pro tip, if you have boys and you want to sit and chit chat about anything, put some fidget stuff on the table and you be the first one to start to connect Legos or play with Play-Doh. A secret to unlocking a child's heart so that they feel comfortable is, again, to take the spotlight off and to give them something else to focus on. So as you are talking to them, make sure that they have access to something with their hands. Another thing to consider is at this stage in parenting, it's when your child will likely be the most unlovable version of themselves. It's an ugly stage. Hormones flying, emotions raging, words flipping out of their mouth that should not come out. And it can be really hard to delight in them. But this is when you need to lean in harder. You need to break out board games that you've not played with them before. You need to sit next to them and try their favorite video game with them. Take them on an exploration to the place that they want to visit. Have fun with your kids at this age. Get past yourself, get over your bruised ego, and actually enjoy your kids and let them see that you actually enjoy them. It's important that not only do you actually play with your kids, but that they can see the expression on your face, right? You can't hide the delight in this man's face as he was sitting paying attention to one of his kids. He is delighting in his children. That's my husband, Craig. And your kids know the difference between you just pacifying and spending time with them until they can go do the next thing and you can move on to something bigger and better, or the fact that you're actually enjoying their company. So work hard at it. And if it fails, try something different. And if you need help, reach out inside the community and let's brainstorm and see if we can't give you some tips and tricks on helping you connect with your son or your daughter. It's important. It's critically important. You are going on this journey together, and the goal, again, is to get through the gauntlet where your young son, your young daughter comes out the other side as a version of their future adult self, remember, that they're proud of, that they went through the gauntlet and they might have gotten bumped or bruised a little bit, but they didn't lose an arm. They didn't break an ankle. They didn't come out bloodied and bruised, permanently scarred. And more importantly, your relationship with them stayed intact. Better, got stronger. So this gauntlet is something to walk through life with intentionally. You can't ignore this season of change in your child's life. It's different because it's almost like an arm wrestling match or hand to hand combat for your child's soul. They're transitioning from, I believe everything that mommy and daddy say, to, well, I don't know if I believe everything that mom and dad say. Right at the same time that the flood of hormones opens up their mouth, so they'll say anything in any way that they feel in that moment. And they might even have outbursts of frustration or rage or anger or sadness. This is extremely, extremely emotional time. And in our culture, this is also the peak of self-harm, or at least the season of life that it starts to creep in. And so with intention, we need to come alongside our kids. We need to speak words like, I can see that you're now stepping into the gauntlet, that your body is in the process of transforming who you are today into your young adult self. And I believe in you. I know that it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard for you. It's going to be hard for me. It's going to be hard on us. But I'm on the other side of the gauntlet, and I am calling you through, knowing that there are things that you're going to have to avoid. Sometimes you're going to get bumped and bruised, but I'm over here cheering you on. And when you're on the other side, we're going to celebrate together, because you are going to be a young adult that you're proud of. And I need you to understand that sometimes it's not going to make sense, because your brain is flooded with chemicals that are making it hard for you to process what's going on. So sometimes you're going to think that I am the bad guy, that I am being completely unreasonable. But some of that is just the chemicals going through your mind that are causing things to short circuit. So if you ever get confused, if you ever get over frustrated, know that that's normal, and that it's going to get better. It's going to get easier. It's just that your body is just like that machine inside Captain America. Things are flooding in at you, so much so that it's causing things to heat up. It's causing things to get brighter, and it's causing things to spark. But I believe in you. You're going to get to the other side. Words like that are priceless, and your child will hold on to them, and you need to consistently work on sprinkling them into their day. Not overkill, but just letting them know that you see them, because this is that season of life that it's critical that they know that they are seen and that they are loved, in spite of the fact that they're quirky. It's kind of a dumpy, awkward stage where, if you have kids that are growing really fast, the nerve endings don't grow as fast as their physical body, which is why the signal doesn't get to their feet fast enough. So they trip over themselves. It's because their nerves aren't as long as their limbs yet. So they can't get the signals fast enough. So just knowing these things and sharing these things with your child. Hey, I see that you're tripping a lot. That means that your body's growing, but your nerves haven't caught up yet. Don't worry, they will. See, they need to know that. They don't need to just be left with this feeling that I'm a clumsy fool and I'm going to be tripping and falling over myself for the rest of my life. So anyway, the gauntlet, 12-year-old gauntlet, it's a real thing. There are 2 other gauntlets, and you will find them inside the relationships module of Homeschooling Olympians. So be on the lookout for that when that module opens up for you, if you're on the inside. And if you're not on the inside, what are you waiting for? See you on the inside. Let me know what you think about all of this. And if you have questions, raise your hand here inside the community. And if you're a Homeschooling Olympian, inside the actual Homeschooling Olympian community.